I'm sure I don't do enough. For report cards, we have like a celebration dinner. We go out to dinner. We have a prize bag that when we'll work on a goal and then they can go choose out of the prize bag. Maybe it's a goal of accomplishing a science project.
I mean, they know that we expect all A's and B's, and if they're not living up to that, then I meet with teachers and say this child is capable, and this motivates the child when they know that, hey, this is what I'm expected to do, and I'm not doing that. My mother and father, get in touch with the teachers, and we work out a plan to make our kids succeed. And we work with teachers, and I'm very involved in the school.
I'll reward her first. A toy, a book, something, we would go pick up, something she's been wanting, and be able to let her play with it, enjoy that gift. Then down to the hard part, that's getting that homework done, making her earn that reward, bringing good grades home.
Well, I try to monitor them on a daily basis, every night. And I try to allow them to make their own mistakes and point those mistakes out to them as I see them.
Motivation. This segment will focus on the hierarchy of reinforcers as they impact on motivation, the logical consequences of positive discipline, the impact of developmental distress, and family meetings.
Now, the next section on here talks about positive discipline. I would also encourage you back in the resources, there's a gentleman whose name is Gene Bedley. He's from Irvine, California. He has a whole school, elementary school, he runs on the concept of catching a child doing something good. I always want to know, what are the logical consequences of being good? As I go back into it, if I'm a real good person in the family, I'm the oldest child, what happens to me? And I usually get more work to do, more responsibility. There has to be some other kinds of reward. Now, if I don't get enough love and affection in the family, what do? I act out. I now have your attention, but you give it to me in negative discipline. So I learn at an early age the best way to get attention from you is to do something negative instead of something positive, where I can get positive reinforcement. Now, the other part of discipline that's so very hard to explain, but let me put it this way. I don't know how you discipline your children, but I would suggest if you really look at it, it's like your strongest parent, be it your mother or your father, the one you related to the most or with the most. Usually we find if my mother was the strongest parent of the two, I disciplined my children the way she disciplined me. My dad was that way, that's when I related with the strongest, then I disciplined my children the way he did. A lot of it also has to do with cultural values. The subculture of poverty, discipline is usually quick and harsh and over with. The problem we have sometimes is now called child abuse when it used to be just a good pattern. So there is a fine line in there. Okay, so we have to watch for discipline. But it is, in fact, the whole concept of taking a look at a positive approach. UNTs can explain it and so forth, so the child will understand it and you'll still punish him. UNFs will give up. SFs, you'll explain to them, didn't you understand this? And I'll be crying, say yes. And they'll say, all right, don't do it again. Okay, but there has to be some consistency. That it's recognized and that it's dealt with. I don't know what punishment is, except it's a consequence. So we have to take a look at the consequences of that, not what disturbs me. The what are the consequences of the action, which is a lot different.
In talking about positive discipline, we frequently talk about reinforcing positive behaviors. The catchword is catch your kid doing something right and reward it, rather than trying to catch them doing something wrong. Many parents get stuck in the paying kids for things. They pay them for grades, pay them for doing chores, pay them for this, pay them for that. What we'd like to suggest is there's a variety of ways to reinforce kids at different age levels. We would like for you to think about some of the alternatives, and there is a hierarchy of reinforcers. I'm going to share it with you right now. At the lowest level, children will respond to consumables. Those are things you eat, a treat of some kind. Nurses and health aides are always on my case when I do this, because they say, don't start kids, giving them cookies or candy when they do something good. But it can be a special dinner, a night out, something that they enjoy eating. It doesn't have to be candy. But at the lowest level, people respond to consumables. The next level up, in terms of functioning, they respond to what we call usables. Those are the kinds of things that they use that reinforce learning. For us, anyway, it's reinforcing learning. Things like pencils, erasers, etc. Now, most people say, well, I buy those for my kids anyway. But one parent, one of the workshops, said as a reward, one of the things she does is she orders the pencils with her kids' names on them. And when they've gotten good grades or they've reached a certain plateau, they get a pencil with their name on it. And that's a real something of pride for them. Their own set of books or learning materials of some kind, the special spiral notebook. At home, it's the Peaches. I don't think you have Peaches, and don't get started on Peaches, but it's just a special folder that has a picture on it that the kids like. Costs a little bit more, costs an arm and a leg, but everybody wants a Peachy. Those kinds of things are called usables. And at different age levels, kids respond very well to usables. Then you have privileges. They get to stay up later one night, or they get to do something special. They get to go to someplace on Saturday rather than studying or whatever. Then we have services. Services goes two ways. It's either something you do for the child or that the child does for the family. And that can be a reinforcer. If you say, okay, if you get your project finished and everything's in on time, then I will help you get your room organized and clean. You and I will do it. I'll do this for you. Or I will do this for you or that for you, something the child's wanted. The other thing is to let the child do something for the family, like you can fix a special dessert for the family. Or you can fix a special dinner, or you can choose where we go out to dinner on Friday night, so that you allow the child to do some kind of service for the family that they don't usually do. Trophies. Trophies can be anything that's concrete that recognizes what the child has done. One suggestion is to put a candle in the child's dessert. One suggestion is to put a candle in the child's dessert. When they've done something well at dinner at night, when you bring the dessert out, you put a candle on it. That becomes a trophy. Or putting something on the front of the refrigerator. Or we knew one family that had something they put on the door. When the child had gotten a good grade, they got to put this star on their bedroom door. It can be unique to your family, but it's a way of recognizing, a concrete way of recognizing. Honors. You're the special dinner for John tonight. What would you like to have? We're going to honor you because you got A's in your last 3 projects, or you got an A on your report card, or you got your project finished and in on time, and that was hard. But something that gives them the place of honor in the family. Let's see, what's this one? Praise. Praise you have to use very, very carefully. The next one is acknowledgement. At the highest level, kids only want acknowledgement, not praise, because praise can seem condescending to them. But to catch a kid doing something right can be as much as just putting your hand on their shoulder and saying, boy, you really make me proud of you, or I'm proud to be your parent, or it really feels good to see you doing such a good job. Now, it doesn't have to be anything concrete. So as you start with kids who are not highly motivated, start with very concrete kinds of things, moving up to less concrete, and you'll notice there's no money on here anyplace. Money is one of the least effective reinforcers we have with kids. One of the least effective reinforcers. They will do much more for something that's less concrete. This is in a section called Family Activities. But one ritual that seems to work very, very well once you get used to it is family meetings. Family meetings, and we had one participant who said, well, we call it our Come to Jesus meetings. It is not meant to be a time when everybody is reamed out for what they did wrong or what they haven't been doing or what isn't working. Family meetings should be used to recognize positive things. You know, all the griping and complaining, etc., can be done another time. The family meeting is when each person in the family has a time to talk about something they feel strongly about, or something they've done well, or something they want to communicate to the rest of the family. It's a communication time when everything else is put on hold. No phone calls, everyone will be there, it's not negotiable. This is our family ritual.
The last section in here is the part on television, and of course over here that probably is not too much of a problem. But if it is, if you take a look at the last sentence on page 41, you control the knob. Okay, if you only have one television set in the house, you can pull the knob off. That ends a lot of the concern. However, please keep in mind, the television can become misused. You have to control that. You're the key to that. You're in the hierarchy of being in charge. And therefore, it's up to you to say no and yes. Be rather selective. In the States, when you have 60 channels, and a lot of kids have their own television set in the room, it's rather hard to control. So we always say, take a pair of pliers and cut the plug off of it.
We hope that viewing all or parts of this program, along with the use of the F.A.S.T booklet, will assist you to assist your children as we work cooperatively to prepare them for the 21st century.